seemed to think that my differentiator was that I noticed things on the field that maybe other players didn't. So that became really the core message of my first speech. And we called it WIN, W-I-N, what I noticed. What I noticed that is different, what I noticed that is valuable, what I noticed that could move me towards my goal. There is great strength in looking closely enough at a situation and identifying what isn't obvious to your competition or to the rest of the world. But you can't just stop there. You have to ask yourself, is what I just figured out not just different, is it valuable too? And is it aligned in some way with what I want to achieve? After my first NFL season, I noticed that I was learning on the run. I took every snap and every play and every game that season. We only won 3 games. I set the NFL rookie record for interceptions, one that I still hold today. Every year there's a rookie quarterback. I pull for all of them. Eli, Sam Bradford, Cam Newton. Nobody can catch me. But I can remember my rookie season, after my first couple practices in our training camp, I remember watching film with the quarterback's coach. And we were watching a play where I dropped back to pass, and the receiver ran around, and the defender was right on him. There was hardly any room to throw it, and I threw the ball away. And the coach said, "Why didn't you throw the ball?" And I said, "Well, because he wasn't open." And the guy was like that. He said, "No, in the NFL, Peyton, that's open." So it was a good lesson to learn, but I needed to improve on a lot of things. I had lots to learn, and I had to learn it fast, and unlike most people, my decision-making and ultimately my learning curve was being judged not by a single boss or a teacher or even a small work team. Every week, my decisions and their results were being judged by my teammates, about 20 million armchair quarterbacks watching on TV, and about 70,000 fans in the stands. Now, several seasons later, I noticed that it was time for me to lead in a new way. We had a new generation of rookies with different expectations. I can remember one year, one of our rookie wide receivers came up to me and told me that he was 12 years old when I was a senior in college at Tennessee. And he told me that he enjoyed watching me play on ESPN Classic. He said that he wanted me to sign an autograph for him, and it wasn't going to be for a charity or for his little brother. It was going to be for him because he was a big fan. And it was hard for me because I can't have a teammate just sort of hanging on my every word or looking up to me as a fan. I need him to see me as an equal and for him to be the best player that he could be. And I had to really adapt my skills to be innovative and to learn to lead a younger generation in a different way. And you have to ask yourself, is that what do you notice that provides deeper insight into something that's more important in your life? When you look deeply, when you listen with a different ear, the results are often something that you never anticipated. Did you know that FBI agents are trained to know when someone is lying by noticing a twitch in a very small muscle between someone's eyebrows? A parent often develops a remarkable instinct to know when their kid is really sick or just trying to get out of school. When you have a good friend, you often know something is wrong or right without even having to say a word. Think of it as the win tendency. I've tried to develop the tendency of looking differently at things into a skill. Every year I sit down to review the previous season and figure out what I noticed. A couple of weeks ago, I asked myself the annual question, when? What did I notice about last season? Well, I noticed that it was really tough not being on the field competing with my teammates. I noticed that it was tough watching our team only win 2 games. I spent an extremely difficult season on the sidelines last year. This past offseason, I had 3 surgeries. And I'll share a little dream that I had before one of the surgeries. I dreamed I'd gone into the surgery, and it just didn't work out so good, and I didn't make it. And I went to heaven. I got to heaven, and the good Lord greeted me. And he said, "Peyton, welcome to heaven. I want to show you to your home up here." Walked up onto a modest 1-story house, kind of faded Indianapolis Colts flag hanging out the window. He said, "This is your home for eternity." And I felt honored. I walked up onto the front porch of my home and looked around the corner and saw this great big 3-story mansion, red and blue sidewalk, about a 50-foot flag flagpole with a huge New York Giants flag hanging off. I said, Lord, I don't want to appear ungrateful because I do appreciate my house. He said, what's your question, Peyton? I said, oh, my question is, I played 14 years and won a few MVPs, and I also won a Super Bowl. And I know Eli's won 2 Super Bowls, but he's only played 8 years, and I'm older than him. I just don't understand, why does Eli have a bigger house than I do? And he said, Peyton, that's not Eli's house, that's my house. But since I was out of the game for an extended period for the first time in my career, I probably was more introspective than usual. Frankly, I gained a deeper understanding that how we make decisions can become the backbone of an individual's success. For those of you who are young out there, you've obviously had the guts to make decisions that separate you from the crowd. That's difficult at any age, much less as a teenager. As members of champions of character or fellowship of Christian athletes, you've already made decisions that set you apart. You have become the people you are because of, not in spite of, the choices that you have made. Collectively, those decisions and their effects can set you apart from others. Let's do a little film breakdown here. Only this time, instead of an opponent's defense, let's talk about how to make decisions. People make decisions every day, but there are people who habitually make good decisions and those who have a knack for making wretched ones. And decision-making starts very young. First of all, there is a reason that God made us crawl before we walk and walk before we run. For everyone's sake, serious decision-making should never, ever start with a major one. Like most everything that is important in life, it's easier to practice a skill when the heat is off and there's an absence of scrutiny. I cannot remember the last time that's happened to me. It's easier to decide when there's nothing important on the line. Do I have vanilla ice cream or chocolate? Do I have a large or small cup of coffee? Do I go see this movie or that movie on Friday night? The real goal is to get into the habit of making decisions without flip-flopping.